Hello and welcome into another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast, connecting with you Italian football fans from all over the world. This episode is all about Lazio versus Milan, midweek Serie A showdown. Jerry and I wanted to bring in a couple of our favorite Milanisti because I wanted them to savor this moment because in less than 24 hours they're no longer going to be in first place. So I wanted to be able to let our Milanisti friends savor this moment. And I usually don't pick sides on the pod, at least not officially, in games that don't involve Inter. But just for this episode, guys, you see that? Just for this episode, I'm rolling out the Lazio background. So let me before I introduce my co-host Jerry Mancini. I'm Alex Donno, by the way. Let me introduce our special guests, and obviously at least 75% of us, but really 100% of us, because it's an important game, are going to be really invested in Lazio against Milan. A couple of good friends of ours join us. Rui Pereira from the Red Card Report was nice enough to join us, and he's going to be up all night because he's making like 20 espressi an hour with the machine that's behind him. Rui, how you been, man?
Fantastic, as always. Thank you guys again for having me on. I'm looking forward to talking Calcio and, most importantly, the Milan and Lazio game coming up. Jerry, I think you're going to lose another bet, man. You're going to, once I visit you out in Toronto, I don't think I'll have to take out my wallet that weekend or whatever it is. I'm going to be eating for free.
Well, what's the bet? What's at stake between you guys?
The espresso machine behind him, because it's a Faema. That thing's fucking worth a lot of money, man. That's a good machine, okay? I'm looking at it right behind. That's why, like, if people are looking at me while I'm staring into the screen, it's because I can read. I have good eye vision. I can see that's a Faema. Faema is such good coffee. It's one of the best. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
I don't know if I'll put that on the line. That's a little bit too much for me. But our initial bet was just a Neapolitan pizza and a beer. But at this rate,
I think
it's gonna be
jersey.
Oh yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, you could go and buy one, Jerry. I mean, I won't be against that. I won't stop you.
But that was the bet, that I'm supposed to wear a Milan jersey. Wasn't that what it was, or no?
Yeah, it was, but most importantly, you have to feed me. You owe me a pizza, Neapolitan style, and a beer. And at this rate, man, it's gonna be bottomless beer for me.
You have to. I love the way you worded that. You have to feed me. Like I picture like a baby bird, like Jerry's chewing up the pizza and spitting it in your mouth, like the way that you said that. Let's introduce our other special guest. And for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, and I should set the table because I know that probably most of you are listening to this audio only. Those who are watching the YouTube, you can see, of course, not surprisingly, Jerry's background has Ciro Immobile celebrating. And it's a game, clearly Lazio versus Milan. So he picked the appropriate background photo for YouTube. You know, I know Rui is at work. That's why he's got espresso machines in the background and not his like 50 Milan jerseys. But Michael Lisi, who also joins us from Fossa dei Leoni, he's got his Scudetto Strong patch on there with his Milan jersey on. So Michael, how you doing, man? You ready for tomorrow?
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm super excited for tomorrow. I can't wait to hear Jerry's sandbagging bullshit predictions for tomorrow. So let's get to it. Last I heard Milan, he actually picked Milan to win 2-0, which
he did.
I mean, come on, man. Come on.
He is. I'm gonna out him because I think the mush loses power if I'm the one who outs him. As long as Jerry keeps up the charade, I think it can still work. But Jerry is desperately trying to mush Milan. Like, there's no way Jerry really thinks he's losing this game 2-0 because and I give Milan a lot of credit this season, even with moving parts and COVID and injuries. Now, their squad is going to be especially depleted for this game, so we'll talk about that. But I give Milan credit for still grinding out results and staying undefeated despite a lot of moving parts this year. Lazio was in a really tough stretch. But if Lazio can play the way that they played over the weekend against Napoli, if they play like that, they can beat anyone in Italy. I mean, we just saw Juventus gets smashed by Fiorentina today. You know, we haven't seen Inter put in a good 90 minutes all season long. They only play in spurts. So, you know, Milan has been the class of the Serie A so far. But if Lazio play the way that they played over the weekend against Napoli, they can beat any team on any night. And Michael, I know you've been talking about this a lot on our group thread. How much do we know about what Milan's starting 11 could look like? And of course, it's not going to be made official until about an hour before kickoff. But what's your speculation? Because obviously, Ibra and Kjaer are still out. Tonali, I understand, is out. Kessié picked up a suspension for another yellow card. So what do you expect things could look like?
Well, right now they're saying that Tonali and Rebic are both game time decisions. Although I have a feeling I think that's just a little bit of gamesmanship. I would think they're just kind of messing with Lazio, and those two are probably not actually going to play. They just want to keep it kind of up in the air, you know, so Lazio doesn't exactly know how they're going to come out. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see Krunic and Çalhanoğlu probably play in the midfield together. They're probably going to line up like a 4-4-1-1, kind of like they did over the weekend against Sassuolo. So again, you'll have Krunic and Çalhanoğlu in the middle. You'll probably have Hauga and Salamakers out wide, and then you'll have Diaz probably under Leao up top. I mean, and that's assumed. And then the back line's more or less going to be, intact, considering, you know, Pereira and Gabby are still out. So you're going to have Calabria, and you're going to have Romagnoli and Kalulu and Theo on the left. But that's what I think we're going to see once they take the field tomorrow. You might see some of those guys in a little different places, but I think that's more or less, you know, how they're going to play. And
does that sound
try to pack the middle of that field to slow down the Albertos and Milinkovic Saviches of the world? And then, you know, it's not getting too far ahead of ourselves, but I think, you know, one of the most interesting things is you're going to have Immobile up top basically trying to hunt down Kalulu the whole time. You know what I mean? That's going to be his job. He's going to try to pick on him. You know, Kalulu and Romagnoli, this is the 5th game they're playing together, but they haven't really played against like a top-notch striker yet. You know, they haven't played against one of the best scorers in the league, and this is really going to be like a step up in level, you know, from the other teams that Kalulu especially has played against. I mean, Mattia Destro scored twice against us, so, you know, Immobile, I don't know, 5-10. What do you think, Jerry?
Hold on, I hate that guy. Mattia Destro, I fucking hate that guy.
Nobody likes him.
You know what? I didn't care about him until what he did against Crotone in the first game of the season, when he thought he celebrated the World Cup and
that's right.
Like, get the fuck out of here. That guy there is like one piece of shit. Screw him and that ugly hair he has. Ugly hair. Oh God. Screw that guy.
So Rui, did Lisi's projected lineup sound about right? And to kind of build on that, with all the absences, who do you think could really step up? Maybe a couple of players that the Interisti and the Laziali out there may not be thinking about, that could really step up and have big games.
Yeah, I think Mike really hit the nail on the head. If it's not the 4-4-1-1, I think it could be a 4-2-3-1, the formation that we've been using all season long. But I think Mike is right. I think the 4-4-1-1 is going to be the formation going into this game, and the starting lineup as well. I think it's well thought out. I think that's the starting 11 that's going to be show up in the beginning of the game if Tonali and Rebic aren't going to play. So players to stick out. You know, I feel that even with all the injuries or the suspensions, the COVID situations that we had this season, we have been performing really well. And it seems like we've been playing collectively as a unit. Sure, there are superstars that stick out the most, but collectively, we all the players individually wise, for the most part, play really, really well. But a player that I think that has to have a really solid game, or probably one of the best games in his career, has to be Rafael Leão. This is a top side that we're going up against. It's Lazio. Sure, they've been in a funk. They've gone through absolutely everything this season with COVID. They've been up and down in form, which is normal, especially with such a compact season from last season coming into this season. And as you mentioned, if Lazio come out the way that they did against Napoli, they should be the favorites to win this game, given all the injuries that Milan have and the suspension with Kessie. So Milan have to be sharp. The defense has to be rock solid. I think the defense has to do everything possible to suppress Ciro Immobile from getting any goal scoring opportunities or any penalty kicks. But yeah, I think Leão is going to be the guy. I think he's going to need to score if we're going to win this game.
So, Jerry, I want to get your take on how you expect Lazio to line up. Is it going to be pretty straightforward? And who do you think? And I guess there are some obvious names here like Cheeto, but who do you think really needs to step up to get this W?
I want to say a side note first. When I was writing my recap for this game and like taking the breakdowns, I feel like this is a little bit of a karma game towards Milan, because last time when Lazio played Milan, we had nobody in the lineup. Let's just recall this. We didn't have Caicedo.
Yeah.
We didn't have Immobile. We had to start Correa with one leg. He was forced to play, and after that game, he didn't see like another 3 weeks. He didn't play till the end of the season. We had to use Luis Alberto up front as a striker, which was a terrible thing. The whole team was depleted. And you know what? And I say this because I'm reading comments people are sending me. You're playing a Milan side that's half battered, and the tables have kind of turned where Lazio were in that position, and now Milan was on that side where they did what they had to. So I want to see that if Lazio can capitalize like Milan did last year, and win this game. And I don't count this Milan side out, because if Lazio can beat a Club Brugge and a Zenit with up to 12 and 8 players missing from their squad, I don't see why Milan can't do it. With the unbeaten streak of 25 games, the mentality, the fortitude of what they've shown under Pioli. And people are like, oh, but do you see who Milan has? I don't care. Kalulu stepped up.
He did.
Perfect. Like Lisi, you said it. Kalulu's been good the last 5 games. And who's to say he can't shut down Immobile tomorrow? We've seen it with Verona. Verona did it against Immobile. Didn't give him any space. No, I know that Juricic and Pioli are 2 different managers and 2 different teams and everything. But there's a lot of quality on this team. Even at the end of the day, I think it's their midfield that's going to be the biggest question mark. I don't think it's their defense. I don't think it's their offense. If you can get a performance from Krunic, I think that's the difference maker here for Milan, because I don't watch enough Milan to criticize him, but based on what people say, he's not a good player. I'm not going to shit talk him because I don't watch him enough. But for me, it's going to be the 3-5-2 for Lazio. Acerbi won't be starting in this game. I hope he doesn't start personally. I know that it's nice to have him against Milan, but he would have been available had we not rushed him for Napoli. And they really screwed that up, because now I don't know when he'll be back. I would assume after the break, but that's for another day. But in the back, I see Felipe, Patrick, and Radu, they were saying. And I'm okay with Hoot as well. I think Hoot's been really good this year. I know a lot of people are saying that he's been a bad signing. I don't think so. When we signed him, people should be happy for what they've gotten. He's not a Kumbula where everybody wanted, but he has still done the job and stepped up. In the midfield, it's going to be Escalante with Luis Alberto and Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. Out wide will be Maricic and Leva. And I see up top, apparently Correa had a full training session today, along with Immobile. I like that. I like Correa as a starter, and I like Caicedo off the bench. Reason being is he's that difference maker. I just think that Caicedo plays that role of coming on in the 60th minute and can really be a difference maker. His physicality, his strength, and he gives something different up top compared to Correa. That's how I see it. I wish Pereira didn't play another game for Lazio personally. I'm not going to hate on him because I don't think he's a bad goalkeeper, I just think that he's not your everyday goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And Lisi, you said a good point many times, and I agree with you. It's his feet work. Like there's times where he's really good at passing the ball from his back end. But then there's times where he's just passes to nobody. And there have been times this year where he passes to nobody and results in goals or results in lost possession. And it just drives me nuts. And
it's crazy. And that to me shows me he's just getting old, because I remember 3 years ago when he was starting for Napoli, his strength was playing with his feet. Like his strength was being a great distributor, sweeper, keeper. And all of a sudden that has gone to absolute crap for him. And, I know if he had like just started getting playing time, I could say, oh, maybe it's just rust, because when keepers don't play for a long time, you may not be in rhythm as far as distribution, but he's been playing a lot this year. So it's not like you can't blame a lack of rhythm anymore for him. I think he's just old.
Well, when he makes a big save, it's not because it was from a big save he had to make. It's from lost possession. It's from turnovers that he had to make that save to like make up for it. I think Thomas Strakosha, I've been critical of him in the past. I still think he's the future. He should be playing. Sitting on the bench doesn't make sense. That's at the end of the day, Strakosha is the guy who helped him get to the Champions League, who helped him in the last 4 years get to where they were. Not fully, but he was a part, and now all of a sudden Reyna's playing every day. And what happened to Strakosha? Like, is he sick? Is he hurt? I'm curious to know why Inzaghi elects not to use him when he was always the preferred choice. A 38-year-old shouldn't be relied on for your future. Like it's bad. Strakosha is still in his 20s. Like that's the guy you're supposed to go with. But
you would think that he would be used as or be given the same role as he was given at Milan. Like he even said it himself that like his objective. And he actually did do that effectively.
You're cutting out, Rui. Oh, there you are.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. His role at Milan was to make Donnarumma the best goalie in the world, and I thought he did a great job. I thought there was a huge improvement with him being that role model for Donnarumma, and now we're seeing Strakosha on the bench and Pepe Reina, a guy that can't even dribble the ball anymore. This was a guy that when he entered Milan and played in those games, he's like, these guys can't play with the ball at their feet. They're not quick enough or anything like that. And, it's just it's kind of bizarre that Inzaghi would actually go with Reina in these situations.
Well, I want to go. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Michael, go ahead, and then I want to go around the table for predictions after.
Did Strakosha have like one just shit show of a game that all of a sudden he doesn't play anymore, or just one day it was Reina? It's been Reina since. I don't watch enough of your games to really understand what's going on.
The only game he really played when he came back from COVID was against Udinese, where they lost 3-1. But it wasn't his fault, really. Like I know he could have probably made one of the saves, but like they were just pure dominant. They were dominated by Udinese. So, and I also want to elaborate on a tweet we talked about earlier in the week about possession. I actually want to talk about that, like that. I'm not sure if Alex knows about this.
No, explain it.
I love Carlo Garganese. I'm not going to call him out, but
you just did. He's awesome.
I love him, but I don't agree with, now that we have Lisi on, I don't agree with what his argument was about. What was it again, Lisi? Just refresh my memory. Like
he was basically ripping. He was comparing Weston McKennie and Betancourt. And Weston McKinney's passing percentage was like 82% or high 70s. I can't remember which. And Betancourt's was close to 90. But then if you looked at the passes they made, almost every pass McKennie made was in the offensive half of the pitch. And I think like 40 of the 50 passes Betancourt made were in his own end of the pitch. And to me, okay, yeah, 90% is better than 80. But if I'm completing 80% of my passes in your end,
right,
I'm playing pretty good. I mean, to me, if you're a center back or a goalkeeper, the bare minimum is like 90%.
Mm-hmm.
You should be between 90 and 100. If you're a goalkeeper or a center back or a defensive mid and your passing percentage is at like 78 or 80, you're doing something wrong. I mean, that's just my 2 cents on it. He didn't agree. I mean, like I said, I have all the respect for the dude. I have no like beef with him or anything. I just disagreed on that point. To me, if you're moving the ball around in the other team's end of the pitch at an 80% success rate, you're doing just fine. I got no complaints with what you're doing.
No, and I wanted to bring that up because I agree. If you're a 90% pass rate, like, and 40 of your passes came from your back end, back from you to your goalkeeper 40 times, I think the stat is inconclusive and it doesn't really describe the kind of player you are. I absolutely agree with you. That's why I'm not always big on stats. Even like this XPG I've been listening to on today on zonal marking, and I'm like, you idiots with Arsenal, and they have like the third highest. Yeah, XG, yeah, that stupid math comment he said about the crosses. We're gonna send every cross into the box. Like, I get it if you want to see how in the final third how teams are doing, but I think it's irrelevant stat that doesn't tell the whole game. It doesn't tell you what was broken down in the midfield, how they got there, who did what in the midfield. Like, yeah, okay, you can see the chances per goal and all that, but I don't think it tells you. It tells you 5% of the game. That's what I find.
Yeah, I agree.
Fair. So I want to move on to predictions. I'll start because I'm despite my background, for those watching on YouTube, just try to, you know what? In fact, let me. I'll change it back to Inter so I don't distract so many people on this. On audio and video settings. All right, because I want to at least appear impartial. Okay, this is it goes without saying. This is a really big game. I mean, for Lazio, in 8th place, level on points with Atalanta in 7th, but losing the goal differential tiebreaker. But Lazio in 8th place, so they just need W's. They need wins, and they're trying to get themselves back in Champions League position. Milan, of course, they've been the story in Serie A. They're in 1st place at 31 points, and they want to get into the Christmas break still in 1st place, and they may have to get something out of this Lazio game to ensure that they remain in 1st place. So both teams have plenty of incentive to win, to play well, and to win. You know, normally, I think if not for so many injuries and complications, suspensions for Milan, normally I would look at this game and go at least a draw. Because Milan has done a great job this season getting results. I mean, but before they bounce back with a victory this past weekend, they grinded out a couple of draws. Coming back from 2-0 to draw up both of those games. So they've shown a lot of character this year. I think normally I'd probably go, let's say, a 2-2 draw in this one. But I am going to give the slight edge to Lazio because Milan is missing so much. And I think Lazio is going to be able to overrun them in the midfield. So I'm going to go 2-1 with a brace for Cheeto, and I'll probably have Rafael Leao scoring for Milan. He impressed me with that 7-second goal that he scored the other day, fastest in Serie A history. So I'm going to give the edge to Lazio. Cheeto with a brace, 1 penalty kick, 1 goal from open play. I'll go to Rui next. I'll let Jerry wrap up the prediction, but Rui, how do you see the game playing out? Winner, goal scorers, all that.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough game for Milan. This is a game that we definitely need a result in. Bare minimum, we need a draw. Obviously, I preferred the win, so we maintain our first place status going into the new year. But I'm going to go 1-1 draw. I'm going to go goals from Rafael Leao and Ciro Immobile. I think we're going to see a different Lazio. I think they're going to play really well, but I think Milan are going to I think they're going to show up and they're going to play their game. They're going to show up on the defense, and it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
What do you think, Michael?
I'm with Rui. I think we end up with a 1-1 draw. I think you're going to have a very cagey, if not uninteresting match. I'd say goal score, just because I think everything is going to be squeezed down the middle of the field. Milan's going to try to keep it narrow. Lazio is going to try to come down the wings and bring it into Immobile, but I think you're going to have kind of a less than interesting game. Goal scorers, I'll say one time Immobile, turns around Kalulu like a turnstile. And as far as Milan, I'll go with my boy. I'll go with my boy Salamakers going down the wing.
Yes, salad makers.
Yeah,
Salsiccia maker.
Listen, Jerry, I want to forewarn you. I am a lifelong Notre Dame fan, and Lou Holtz is the godfather of sandbaggers. So I can detect your bullshit already. Go ahead.
With that said, let's get the final prediction. Lazio and Milan, 2:45 Eastern time, 8:45 Italian time. We've gotten the first three predictions. I went 2-1 Lazio. Rui and Mike both go 1-1. Jerry, final word. What happened?
I'll go with my match prediction. What I wrote on my report. I am going 2-0 Milan. Lazio have earned a clean sheet for the first time in 7 goddamn games. It was their 3rd clean sheet all season, I believe. This team can't play defense. Even against the worst teams, they have even showed up. This is a team that you don't know what you're going to get. It's like the roulette table. You don't know if you're going to get 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's you don't ever know what you're going to get with Lazio. That's the problem. You get them hot, you get them cold. And I just it scares me, this team, and I can never give full confidence to them. The only player I can give full confidence to, if I had to say, is Immobile. I think Immobile has been the most consistent player on Lazio this season. Even when he's playing bad, he's still playing good, in my opinion. If he's not scoring, he's running hard. His intensity, like I've seen this guy keep running when they're down 3-0. A lot of these players quit, and I think that's why Inzaghi loves Immobile so much. It's going to be an interesting game. I think that when you're unbeaten in 25 games, like I said earlier, there's a lot of momentum in this team that even when they've won games without key players. They've won without Zlatan for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So for me, you've overcome the barrier of winning without Zlatan. So this team has proven they can beat teams with some of their best players out of the lineup. So you can never count Milan out. This is the one team I think that they kind of remind, and I always say that they remind me of Lazio last season, where they figure ways out to win. Now they're doing it differently. They're doing it between the Europa League and Serie A. Lazio weren't able to do that, so I give extra credit to Milan. But it's just they're finding goals at Lazio did, like they did in the 96th minute, finding 2 goals late against Cagliari last year. They did that against Inter, where they came back. I think it was Inter this season. They came back against Verona when they were down, I think 2-0. They're beating teams or tying teams. They came back against Genoa twice. I don't care if Genoa's at the bottom of the table. When you're coming off 3 days rest, it's not easy. It's not easy for any team. Like, I don't care who you're playing, man. And then the hardest part is to play to your opponent's level. Playing against Genoa is not easy because you become shit when you play against them. You don't become better. I'm sorry. Like your mental state is like, oh, we can beat these guys. Oh, they're easy. When you come play Lazio tomorrow, Milan's gonna be like, oh, this is a hard team. We need to be aware. They're gonna come extra motivated. So I just think that until Milan loses, then you can start to believe that they're going to lose. At this point, I just don't believe it. I've always counted them out. I can't.
I think both sides have a lot to prove. Oh, I'm sorry.
That was one of the more convincing sandbag jobs, I thought. Like he
yeah. If I had a Blue Hulk fat head, I would be holding it up right now.
I just like the honesty of Lisi. That's all. I like that, man. I don't care. No, I appreciate that. What beer is that, anyways? What's up? Is that a tall boy?
Me? Oh no, I'm drinking coffee.
Oh, nice.
Coffee out of
9 o'clock at night, and I'm drinking coffee. So
coffee out of a can?
I'm fucked. No, it's a travel mug.
Oh, okay.
There's a little bit of Bailey's in there.
It looks like a can because he has it where like the background behind him is like blurry, but we can see Michael clear. But like, yeah, the cup was blurry. It looked like a can. A couple more topics.
I'll top the bet, by the way, since we're on predictions. Yeah. If Milan wins tomorrow, I'll actually consider buying an Abate jersey and wearing that for you, Rui.
Wow. Oh, I appreciate that, man. Lord Abate.
Yeah.
Lord Abate.
Scumbag.
So I wanted
to wear that. You can wear that when we get pizza and beer, Jerry.
So bad.
I'd actually, if I had to, I would consider buying one of the tracksuits and wearing it with you, because I think they have one of the nicest tracksuits possible. Those Puma sets are amazing, man. I think Milan did it right signing an agreement with Puma, because Puma makes some of the nicest soccer
do.
apparel. I don't care what anybody says.
So before we wrap it up, there's two more topics I wanted to hit on. I wanted to
Oh,
get to
Juventus
this.
got fucked in the ass.
Okay, let's start with that. That wasn't where I was going to start, but you know what? Since you brought it up, now we're taping this on Tuesday. Juventus took 2 L's today. Okay, first there was the L in court because Napoli actually won their appeal over the forfeit 3-0 loss and the point deduction. So Napoli said, and I was surprised that they won that appeal, but Napoli won the appeal. So, so Juventus surrenders the 3 free points. Now they're going to play this match at a later date. So Juve, they're going to have to actually earn the 3 points on the pitch, which they didn't have to do. So 3 points get deducted from Juventus. Napoli gets the point back that was deducted from them as the penalty. So that was the L that Juve took in court. And it was hilarious because a lot of people were like, "Oh yeah, Juventus just lost this appeal, but wait till you see what they're going to do to Fiorentina. They're going to make our days awesome." And then they get shellacked. Quadrado sent off in the first half, and Juve ends up dropping a 3-0 game to Fiorentina. Full disclosure, it was unfolding while I was at work on the air. I had it on in the background. So I'm a little bit oblivious to some of the finer points to how the match actually went. But the look on Andrea Pirlo's face, he was like a sad puppy, like on the sideline. At the very end of that game, they zoom in on Pirlo because the cameramen do a great job. They always try to find the most miserable guy in the stadium and zoom right in on him. And Pirlo looked absolutely miserable. Jerry, what was your take on that today on both L's? Because, let me speak real quick on the appeal. The reason why I didn't expect Napoli to win the appeal was I thought that the governing body would be worried about setting the precedent for, even though I think what happened with Napoli, I thought morally they did the right thing by not traveling and following the local rules. I thought that the concern would be that if they would set the precedent where a team can, forfeit a game and get to make it up, that it's going to happen more often. So I didn't think the Italian government would want to go down that slippery slope, okay, to get more future appeals and more situations like this. So I was surprised that Napoli won the appeal, but I'm glad that they did, honestly, because I don't want to root for a league that penalizes a club for following their regional laws of travel restrictions during a global pandemic, a club that actually, in this case, acted responsibly by not leaving their region and showing up to that game. I don't like how the rules of a league can openly contradict the laws of a country. I don't think that's right. I think that Serie A needs to understand that there are certain extenuating circumstances. You can't penalize a team for not showing up to a game when their regional government have restrictions that don't allow them to leave their region and travel for that game. So I was surprised they won the appeal. I was happy they won the appeal. Jerry, what do you think about all this?
So when this happened, I was actually at work and I was really busy today. And when I got home, I saw my phone and I saw Joe from Forza Napoli podcast comment on the whole ADL situation with Napoli and everything. For me, I kind of opened my mouth and I kind of deleted my tweet on Twitter and I kind of accused Juventus of just shameless crap. And basically, and I went to Napoli and at the end of the day, I felt that I should have got my stuff right because there are so many fabricated reports between Napoli not wanting to go and Juve and their side and nothing was really true. And at the end of the day, I think this is the right decision. I don't think teams are going to really care that they won this case because this is a different situation. There hasn't been a club yet that has been denied to travel to another city to play. You know what I mean? No one's been in the situation that Napoli has been in. So when people say, "Oh, this is a bad look for the league and this is not good and they're going to take advantage," I get it that every team has had players missing from the lineup, but that's not. I don't think that's the case here. I think the case is that why were they not allowed to travel? And at that time when it happened, the severity was much bigger and everything that's going on. And the whole ASL and the whole laws they have and the security laws, I don't know the technicality of it. But at the end of the day, they fought for their rights. They did what they had to, and they won. And now the problem is because it's Juventus and Napoli in the rivalry, now you're going to start to hear, well, Napoli cheated. Oh, Napoli has De Laurentiis paying the league, and oh, it's corrupted. But hey, like Agnelli said, we play by the rules. So these are the rules. Let's see what he has to say now, because or that's something along those lines he said. But I don't know, freaking. I don't know if had they commented on it, Juventus, have they spoken about the fact that now they have to play Napoli? Like I'm
not
really
sure.
curious to see. I'm curious to know how they feel now that everything has changed. Does their mindset now believe, oh, we got screwed, this is bullshit? Because they played that big game of, oh, whatever happens, happens. If it gets reversed, it gets reversed. But I feel like that was a cover up, basically saying that we're gonna win this. We're gonna steal these free 3 points, and that's it. And now I'm pretty sure they're probably upset that they have to play, but I think this is the right decision at the end of the day. That's just my opinion. If I have to look at a neutral.
What do you think, Rui? Were you surprised by the decision, and do you think it was the right one?
Yeah, I was really surprised given exactly what you were saying, Alex. You know, it's if you overturn the appeal, it's if you overturn the decision, it's going to give the other teams the opportunity to kind of play the same game or, you know, take the same route that Napoli did. And, you know, it's I understood why the league did that and held its ground. And initially, I really disagreed with the whole point deduction penalty to go along with it. Because we don't really know what's going to happen in the long run throughout this season if we're going to have another lockdown or whatever it may be. So I think they were just looking to be safe in the long run to just make sure the season keeps on going and nothing stops. I don't want to have any of these headaches where they have to reschedule games in the long run. But from a moral perspective, I think it's like correct what Napoli did, chose not to travel. And I'm kind of happy to see that they are going to replay this match, and yeah, so I think I have mixed feelings about it. So I understood where the league was coming from. I understood where Juventus was coming from, their side of the story, but I also understand where Napoli is coming from. But I'm going to be looking forward to this game, and I think overall I lean more towards to replaying the match than not replaying it. So, but as to the Juventus game, oh man, what a disaster! I never seen a team lose 6 points in one day. I've been seeing that tweet. I've been seeing that tweet all day on Twitter that they lost only team to lose 6 points in one day, and man, it just got worse and worse. And ironically, they just lost 3-0. So
yeah, they might as well have forfeited. And by the way, to Jerry's question, while Jerry and then Rui started talking, I was just combing through Juventus Twitter feed for today because if they had made a statement on that issue, they would have posted it to their Twitter. They've not made a statement. There's nothing on their Twitter about that. They were live tweeting their match today, which obviously got sadder and sadder as it went on. And they had a bunch of tweets about how Ronaldo was their November MVP of the month, but nothing about the appeal decision today. Mr. Lisi, I'll give you the last word on it, on that decision, and were you surprised by it?
I was surprised, but I'm glad they're playing the game, mostly because I don't think any fan of any team wants to look at the final table at the end of the year and wonder what if, we had played that 38th game, for both of those teams. Plus, too, I thought I'm with Rui. I mean, the punishment. Okay, you gave them a forfeit, but then you make it a 3-0 forfeit. That's 3 goals of goal difference. Because not only did Juve lose 6 points today, they lost 6 goals of goal difference. They started the day with 27 points, and they were plus 18. They finished the day on 24 points, and they're plus 12. So I'm glad they're playing the game. As far as like that game today, my one criticism of Juve is like, okay, you've got the biggest payroll in the league. You've got probably the most talent in the league. And you've got a coach that puts a different group of guys out there every single game. Like there's zero continuity, especially in the midfield. The midfield, he might as well throw 4 names in a hat and pick them out every week. It's ridiculous. And one week, one game Chiesa is on the left and then he's on the right. Then same thing with Bernadeschi. He's on the left, he's on the right. Kulusevski's all over the place. He's got to pick something and go with it, whether it's one lineup that plays in Europe and another lineup, that plays regularly in Serie A. I don't care what it is. But and I'm no fan as far as I'm concerned. He can fuck it up all year long. Go ahead, buddy. But if I were a Juve fan, I'd be going bonkers watching this guy roll out a different 11 every week. As much as everybody busted on the coach last year, which his name is escaping me right now.
Sorry.
At least he was smart enough to realize these guys are really good. And if I throw these 11 guys out in the positions they normally play and know how to play together, guess what? I'm going to win the championship. And if I'm Juve's management, I probably thought, well, Pirlo's probably smart enough to do the same thing. Well, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe he's just too much of a tinker and too much fooling around, that he's just, like I said, he just won't play the same lineup twice. And if I were a Juve fan, that would be driving me insane right now. And they looked a mess today because of that. So.
Yeah. Yep. One final topic I want to close on. There are going to be a lot of options in January for Papu Gomez and Atalanta where to send Papu. So it's not even a guarantee he stays in Italy, but it does sound like he wants to stay in Italy because his family is happy and settled in Bergamo. And being in Bergamo and maybe not even wanting to move houses, that has created a lot of buzz in the Italian media, making it sound like it could be a Milan derby for Papu Gomez between Milan and Inter. Again, I take every transfer rumor with a grain of salt. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, it's either gonna be Milan or Inter. Like, who he's gonna have his options, in Paris, PSG. He may have other options in Serie A, in other parts of Italy. There was even talk, and it sounds like his agent has put the kibosh on it, but they were even talking to at least one MLS club, but I think he decided he did not want to come to the States. But if it were to come down to Milan or Inter, personally, I think he would be a better fit tactically in Milan. I think a much better tactical fit for Pioli's formation versus Conte's formation. Now, I don't think it's apples to apples necessarily because Conte did mess around a little bit over the past calendar year with a 3-4-1-2, kind of trying to create a position for Christian Eriksen to have him as a trequartista behind 2 strikers. And it's been a mess. It's been a mess when Eriksen has played in that position. It's been a mess when he's tried to put others like even Barella or sometimes Gagliardini in that position. And the times that Conte has gone back to the 3-5-2, his tried and true 3-5-2, tactically, and the balance has always looked much better for Inter. But again, the reason why I don't think it's apples to apples is, just Christian Eriksen, to me, never had really a chance to get accustomed to this league and this style of play, nor do I think he's a great fit for it. Obviously, Papu Gomez, we know, knows this league extremely well, and I think he covers a lot more range. So I think that if Conte really, if he decides, I really want, management to go out and get me Papu Gomez, and I think I have a spot for him, I think it's possible maybe the 3-4-1-2 could work with Papu, even though it didn't work with Eriksen. So I'm open to that possibility. But I think Milan is a much more natural fit for Gomez. So if it does come down to one of the Milanese clubs, I think that if he has any say in the matter, would be better maybe with Milan. But then I would also wonder, guys, with Milan, and Michael, I'll start with you on this. Obviously, Papu is a sensational player, and I think most Milanisti would be excited if he would come over. But do you think that they would really prioritize, especially if there is a transfer fee, if it's not a free transfer and he's an older player, do you think they would prioritize bringing in another player in his 30s? Because Milan have such a young squad. Do you think that bringing in a player of that age, because we know Inter love the old players. I'm not sure about, aside from Ibra, I'm not so sure about Milan. So do you think that's a guy that they would really go after.
I think for a 6-month rental or 18-month, because I mean obviously you're not giving him a 5-year deal or anything like that. I think it's perfectly fine, and I think if there's obviously not having Ibra and not having a backup number 9 sucks and all, but really I think one of the bigger issues we have that folks aren't really talking about is that we don't really have a backup for Calhanoglu, because when you play 4-2-3-1, that dude that's in the hole, he's got a lot of responsibility. He's got to move the ball. He's got to do a ton of stuff. And that would be Papu's perfect spot for us. I mean, I know with the Atalanta, he generally plays wider on the left, but I think in our formation, that would be the perfect spot for him. And so I'm totally cool with it. As far as you guys, Alex, like if Conte could look me in the eye and say, I will let him go. I'll play my formation and I'll let him play under Lukaku and I'll leave him the hell alone and he can just go do his thing. I think he'd be great for you guys. Because I mean, Lukaku soaks up so much attention like a giant sponge. Papu could just do whatever the hell he wants. But can Conte really let somebody go out there? Clearly not with Eriksen. He couldn't do that. I just don't think he's just so much of a control freak.
Yeah, especially since like
Papu,
and
Conte it'd be
Conte
2.0 and be a mess. So
yeah, no, you're right, and also because Conte hates giving anybody freedom in a spot like that because it really exposes your 3-man back line. Because if you have any giveaways, the fast break, and I think that the 3-man back line has looked better in recent matches, and I just think it's because you finally had your best 3 healthy. Because we all know obviously Bastoni, De Vrij, and Skriniar are the best 3 center backs you have available. Kolarov is a disgrace, and D'Ambrosio is just he's a jack of all trades. He's a good backup player, but he's not really a permanent solution to back 3. So it's been a little bit better. But a big problem we've seen with Conte's formations are when he's tried the 3-4-1-2. The balance has been so bad, and you've really exposed your center back. So that's one of the reasons why it's not looked so good. But what do you think, Rui, on the Papu Gomez issue?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a better fit for Milan. I think he can occupy multiple positions at Milan, whether it's left wing, the number 10 position, the right wing, and he would give some competition to obviously Alexis Salamakers. I think he would definitely start over him, but Alexis Salamakers does provide a different role that Papu Gomez would. So it'd be really interesting how he would fit on Milan. But I think it would be the best place for him, because at Inter you just really don't know. I think he could do well at Inter, but Lautaro Martinez is there, and I don't really think it's worth putting Lautaro Martinez, even though at times this year he's been a little streaky. I don't think it's really worth risking putting him on the bench and then maybe causing some sort of issue or some clash between the manager, or even just dip Lautaro into a colder streak of form or whatever it is. I don't really see Papu Gomez playing anywhere else on Inter, because as you mentioned, that formation with Eriksen playing as a trequartista hasn't really worked. And sure, maybe it would work a little bit better with Papu Gomez, but maybe it's beyond the Eriksen situation. Maybe it's just Inter as a whole. The Conte style team is not really built for having 3 really attacking-minded players on the pitch. Or at least in the final third. But I think at Milan, he would be a great acquisition. He would add leadership. He would add experience. He would add quality, most of all, more depth, everything that a championship team needs, everything that a big club needs. If Milan want to go far and they actually are for real to win the Scudetto, or at least finish in top 4, they need to load up on these positions. And I think Papu Gomez would really solidify Milan's chances at top 4. And I think they'd be arguably the heavyweights, or the most favorable team to win the Scudetto if they do land him.
Yeah, so I'm sure that Inter management, Beppe Marotta, are trying to say, hey, like, we don't necessarily need or want this player, but we also want to make sure he doesn't go to Milan. So it's like, it's one of those things. And like in Inter's
I like that.
case, Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. I mean, like the New York Yankees always used to do that. It's like I don't care if we bury this guy on our bench. We don't want him going to the Red Sox. We're gonna sign whoever we need to keep them off of Boston. Because like for me, for Inter in January, the number one priority it has to be left wing back. I know that there's Conte is always looking at his former Chelsea players, either Emerson or Marcos Alonso. I think he'd love to have either of those guys at the club, and I think that they'd probably fit well with what he's doing. And then, if you are able to have the luxury to address two positions in January, I'm not sure if they have that luxury, to be honest, but if you can, I think the guy that you need, maybe even more so to fit with your formation than Papu Gomez. I like Rodrigo De Paul from Udinese. That may be more of a realistic target for the summer than for January. But
I think I think Marcos Alonso is a realistic option, and
I think he is too. Yeah,
I was listening to the game on Monday. I was listening to the commentator, and he's been phased out since their 3-3 draw versus West Brom, and they were down 3-0 at half. He got subbed off and never saw another minute again. And then this is something I didn't know because I haven't been able to watch enough Chelsea this year. But in the small sample that I've seen, I think a guy like Marcos Alonso would be perfect either for Inter or for Lazio, because especially Lazio. I think Lazio more than Inter, because we don't know what's going to happen with Sena Lulic. And Fades, I didn't know the injury history that guy had. That guy's made of glass, but that's a whole different day or topic we could talk about. But between Inter's got the money to splash, but Lazio doesn't.
I don't know. I don't know right now. I think funds are a little bit tight.
Yeah.
I think they've got to make sales.
I think Lazio's got. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Inter are really going to have to pay attention to their financial status for a while now, because they missed out on the potential revenue that they were going to get in the Champions League just by going into the knockout stages. That's where the bread and butter is. If you get into the knockout stages, it just keeps you accumulate so much more revenue, and Inter don't have that. So they have to look for the long run, especially if they were going to keep Papu Gomez for like an 18-month deal or something like that. It's going to be a little bit tight for them. So
I don't see him going to either.
Continue your thought.
I don't see him going to either team, neither Inter or Milan personally. Why would you want to make your rival much stronger? It doesn't make any sense to me. If the cost for Papu Gomez is what, 10 million they said, or maybe I always say it's the starting asking price, because that's what I'm going to start. That makes no sense that you're going to sell Papu just for 10 million. I'm pretty sure that someone is going to fork out much more money. This is a team that sold Traore. What's his name? Traore, the young kid who's like, I forgot, Amadou or something like that, or whatever the heck his name is, for 32 million. A guy who's 18 years old, never played more than one or two games in Serie A, and came from their Primavera squad and went to Manchester United for how much money? And you're gonna sell Papu Gomez for 10 to 15 million? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, okay. I just don't. It's like Lotito selling to Roma. It would never happen, this deal. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, he has sold. I mean, not a player that good, but he has sold players to Milan and Inter before. I mean, our guy Gagliardini, Kessié, like he has sold players from the Inter and Milan before.
Oh well, yeah, but they're not the same caliber.
True. No, I mean they're not. They weren't makers like Papu, no question.
I don't know, man. Like with Papu, I'm just curious to know what he has to say to the media when he's gone, and that really will define the kind of baggage that you'll be getting. You know what I mean? Because what he has to say can really reflect and really. It can really leave a really bad taste on his new club and the perception he may get. Or it may turn out to be good and say, well, you know what, Gasperini is a piece of crap. We should have thought this the whole time, blah, blah, blah. So it can go both ways. It can either go into his favor or it could really burn him. So I like I said, I want him to leave so he can finally say what he has to say, but
I don't know that he's going to say anything, though. I don't know that
that's
he's going to
another
leave
thing.
Like this scorched earth behind him. part of me thinks that he's just going to slip off to the Middle East. You
Yeah.
make like $8 million playing for like Al Sadd, and
Mm-hmm.
he'll just ride off into the sunset, and that'll kind of be it. I mean, he's not like this big bombastic personality that, you know, yeah, he does some funny tweets here and there where he's dancing around or fooling around or whatever, but he's not one to really like go out and take a shit on anybody or anything like that. So that's why I do kind of wonder if he just doesn't sort of, like I said, go off to the Middle East, make a little money, and sail off into the sunset and not affect the rest of you know, the Serie A season at all.
Because we're on this topic. Sorry, hold on, really. Because we're on, I want to end this goddamn piece of shit Atalanta because I can't stand that team. I'm sorry, I just can't stand them because I hate Gasperini. That's why. I love the fans, but I just hate Gasperini with a passion. Well, let's end it like this, okay? And you can say what you have to say, but I just hope that Milan has a near healthy team when they play Atalanta. Have they played Atalanta yet this season?
No.
I can't wait.
No.
I want to see Pioli
it's
dance.
like the third game after the break.
I want to see Pioli dance. I would pay him to dance and just stick it in his freaking ugly face because Gasperini is the most ignorant piece of shit. The guy gets gloated like he's the god on Sunday for having the best half in this season, and all of a sudden I gotta hear, oh, they don't need Papu. Oh, all of a sudden they're the kings of gods again. Like it's 45 minutes. Illich just came off the bench. Let me know what Atalanta have been doing before that. How much they've been shitting the bed this season. Not the same team like they were last year. I just love how people are so like want to talk about prisoner of the moment.
I was going to say, you want to talk about knee-jerk reactions. I mean, think about a team like Roma. There are some games when Roma is playing champagne football, and it's like, oh my God, Roma, could they be a dark horse Scudetto contender? They get completely shellacked by Napoli, completely shellacked by Atalanta in that second half. I mean, even Juventus, and I understand like Juventus earns a certain amount of equity when you've won 9 straight Scudetti, so they've earned a benefit of the doubt. So that one I can understand.
They look like shit this year.
Well, yeah, oftentimes they have, and we're taping this on a day when they got blown out 3-0 by Fiorentina. But and Juve had a handful of draws up until this point where they played uninspiring. Like they were lucky, I think, to get anything out of their Roma match early in the season. Like they were lucky to even get a draw there. But when Juve actually shows up and does Juventus things, it's like, oh, see, this is the real Juve. Don't worry, they're going to be fine. Listen, it's always crazy for me following Inter because Inter will have, occasionally a good performance or at least a good half. And then it's like, oh, here, they're Scudetto contenders. Then they'll draw a game, and it's like, oh, will they even make Champions League? Like it's the knee jerking is just out of control. But we'll close out the episode on that note. I want to make sure everybody has a chance. If you guys have anything to promote, Rui, let me start with you. Of course, you do excellent work on the Red Card Report podcast. Let the people know where they can find you on Twitter, and if you have anything coming out soon.
Yeah, so we will be releasing a new episode of the Red Card Report sometime this week. That'll be episode 85. You guys are already catching up to us, which is insane because you guys have only been around for like 8 or 9 months.
I think this is number 8. This is either number 79 or 80. I think this one.
We shit out podcasts. That's what we do for a living.
But you can find me on Twitter at Ruizinho92, RUIZINHO 92, and you can find the Red Card Report at RCR_podcast.
And, of course, Michael Lisi does a great job on fossadeleoni.com. Where can people find everything you do, Twitter and all that?
You can find me on Twitter at AC Milan Michael. You'll find, all of my delightful opinions and blog posts and all that good stuff through there. Our blog's been around, I think, since about 2007 or 2008.
Oh, wow.
I'm the second person that's been like the main writer of it, but I like to think we're the oldest Milan blog out there. I'm sure there's some Italian Milan blog that's older than us, but as far as in the States, I'm sure we're it. And I appreciate you guys having me on again. It's always a blast.
I appreciate you guys. And of course, Jerry is grinding out content 24 hours a day. And I love how like Jerry will sometimes get like overwhelmed because he's writing for like 20 different websites. And
no, not anymore, man. Not anymore.
You say that, but every time you say you all like every month tell me I'm cutting down. I'm not going to write as much. And then I log on to Twitter the next day, and you're tweeting out 7 stories for like 8 different websites. It's crazy.
Like 3 in the morning,
Jerry
all
will
these crazy hours.
Jerry will call me and tell me, he's like, yeah, man, I'm going to give up writing. I'm going to take a break. And then like an hour later, he like sends me a message like, hey, man, this is my new article. I'm like, what?
That's so accurate.
I've actually written more for the Laziale. I've kind of concised my sources this season. I've been doing some for Chelsea, the Chelsea Spy. I did Laziale. I've done the World Football Index and Get Italian Football News. I've done it to 4 sites compared to like 10 last season.
I mean, that's 4 sites is a lot, man.
Yeah, I like to change it up where the source is and the following. So, but like I try to where when it comes down to what my major site is, it's probably the Laziale and World Football. I would say more Laziale lately. It's what my bread and butter is. So it kind of caters to what I write. But
so keep at it, man. Keep at it.
I don't know. I use Laziale just for my Lazio stuff, but then when I want to like change it up and try to talk about different teams, that's when I go to World Football and Get Italian Football News, because I don't really provide them Laziale stuff, because then I can provide Inter stuff, Milan stuff. I don't really talk a lot about Juventus. I'll be honest here. I've done maybe 1 or 2 pieces. I've written about Dybala, but for the most part, I don't watch enough Juventus, because I don't mean to be rude, but their games are so boring to just like watch.
Wow.
I just think their style of play just puts you to bed, man. Like, they're just not that exciting brand of football where they get that one game where you're like, wow, they're amazing. And then you're like, okay, these guys just like their 1-goal lead and they sit back and they just do the low block and they just wait to pounce on your mistake and that's it. Like, there's just nothing dynamic about Juventus, in my opinion. I know people are not going to like my take, but that's just the way I look at it personally. I don't know. But
well, I get a weird dilemma this year with Juventus, and this doesn't apply to Jerry, but it may apply to Michael and Rui. A lot of the American soccer fanboys are, they go so hard on the Weston McKennie praise, and hey, you're not American if you're not supporting Weston McKennie, and look what he's doing at Juventus. I am American, but I'm also an Interista, and I despise Juve with every fiber of my being. And so it's like, I kind of wish that he could go to another team where I could root for the kid, but I just cannot root for him. But like every time I'm talking, soccer, as we call it in this part of the world, every time I'm talking soccer with somebody, if they're like not like that big of a soccer fan, they'd be like, oh, you watch Italian soccer. Oh, you must love Weston McKennie. He's doing this, that, and the other. And it's like, oh, it kills me. It kills me. So that's the dilemma that I walk around with pretty much every single day. But, you want to make sure you follow Jerry on Twitter at jmancini8. And you can find his work on every Italian football website on earth. But, if you follow his Twitter, you're going to see all the links and all the good stuff that Jerry writes.
I love it.
Make sure you follow this show at CalcioCon Pod. CalcioCon Pod. The Twitter following is always growing. We really appreciate you guys. We really appreciate the support. If you're listening to this audio only, you can watch it on YouTube, so you get to see the weird faces that we make and the backgrounds and the jerseys that we wear and all that good stuff. And if you're watching on YouTube, keep in mind you can get audio-only versions everywhere you download pods, because I think that's a good tool, because you may not all, if you want to listen in the car, you shouldn't be watching us on YouTube to get into a crash. It'll be nasty. So if you want to listen in the car, you're going out for a jog, you can listen to us on the podcast. So huge thanks again to Mike, to Rui, to Jerry, of course. I'm Alex. We'll talk to you guys next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.